what is that vision for your life? What is it that you're ultimately working towards? What does that look like? What are those exciting toys, those experiences, those things, the legacy? What is it that you're really going after?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a clear vision. That clear vision has come about on purpose, right? That comes from reading Think and Grow Rich, taking 2 pages a day as a habit, and then treating it like a basic text where I have assignments that are due, right? And then not stopping there, but going through, Napoleon Hill wrote a lot. He didn't just write that one book. He wrote the Laws of Success. That's a 4-volume course on how to create that mindset. I believe creating that mindset is the way you become successful, not the other way around. Yeah. You don't get the 9-figure exit by being successful. You become successful because you have told your brain and told your mind and told yourself, that's what we're attempting to do. That's what's in process. Otherwise, you'll have the mindset that I was given as a kid and what I think I encounter most of the time, which is I'm working really hard and I'm awesome at not getting evicted. I'm really doing a good job at not getting my credit cards turned off, and as long as I can not get evicted, not get my credit cards turned off, I'm doing okay. And I spent 25, 30 years with the same skills and same abilities I have now, making between $100,000 and $250,000 a year, which by most people that I know's mindset would be like, dude, bro, you made it. Yeah. But what you find out when you make that kind of money for that period of time, you'll end up where I ended up, which is I had a big house payment, big car payments, a big boat slip payment. And I had a few $100,000 in 401k accounts, but I also had $40,000 in revolving debt that I didn't even know I had. Just accidentally, credit cards and blah, 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 blah. And I got $40,000 in credit card debt. So literally now I need that $250,000 a year just not to go below water. I'm like $250,000 a year is keeping me here. Which will, in the corporate America loves that, by the way, because if they keep you here at 150 to 250, you'll keep producing for them. Yeah. And it wasn't until I said, I got one more real shot at this. I was 50 years old. I saw the opportunity in solar, and I actually moonlighted for a few weeks, and I said, in the last 3 weeks, I made the same money that I would make in a quarter. Yeah. What would happen if I made a quarter's worth of money in 3 weeks? What would I do with that? And by now I'm mature enough to say, well, I'm not going to blow it all on Lambos. So I'm going to keep my $200,000 a year lifestyle while I make $1 million+ a year and invest the rest. And, very quickly I got to a point where I had a 7-figure net worth instead of a something $100,000 net worth. And, very quickly within a few years, I had an 8-figure, net worth. And now my question is, you asked me about the dream. So the dream is I own a solar company. The solar company is called Sun Solar Solutions. The real dream is to have that become, because I know how to sell, teach enough people how to sell to turn that into a company that gets bought for, a couple $300 million. And my partners and I, cash out at that 9-figure level 10 years from now, something along those lines.
And what is that? And what is that exit going to do for you and your family and the world by going through the process and doing that?
Well, first of all, I feel triply blessed that I have found something that my skill set can do well and provides my family with a 7-figure income. But, I don't know if we're paying attention to what's going on in the world, but we've reached the 8 billion mark. A couple of months ago, we crossed the transom of 8 billion people. It was a lot less billions of people when we decided there wasn't enough firewood to go around every day to scramble for firewood to make our energy needs. So we started to drill into the earth and we started bringing up rocks and gas and oil and stuff to light on fire, dead stuff. There wasn't enough dead stuff on the surface. And so we started to dig into the center to get dead stuff to light on fire. And we've been providing ourselves with the energy we need for home and industry and automobile transportation by burning dead stuff now ever since. And now that we've got 8 billion people, we've discovered probably not sustainable. How much dead stuff is there that we can suck out without causing a problem? And then, by the way, we're lighting it on fire, which is causing an entirely different problem, right? Emissions and pollution and changing of the climate and all that stuff. So we've now decided we need to stop doing that. And so I know that when I come upon a homeowner, I say, look, I can change the financial trajectory of your family by changing your perspective that you're a renter of power generation equipment and turn you into an owner of power generation equipment. That's going to change the trajectory of your financial state, just like being the owner of a home instead of the renter of a home.
Well, I'll tell you, we bought a 232 unit building in Dallas last year. We installed, we installed solar on it, and that solar alone created a 15% return on cost. Plus, we're obviously not 100% reliant on the grid. Plus,
which is
we're creating a more sustainable type of energy for that property, and it's actually pro for the investors. Like, it's actually a good thing. It makes sense to do that now. So I think it's a really powerful tool. I'd love for you to share with the audience a little bit about your philosophy on investing, because I think there's something interesting that we can pull from this. When I hear that you own a bunch of real estate properties and you own them free and clear, there's a philosophy there. There's a mindset. There is a risk mitigation concept, because if you were to bring in even 50% leverage, which is considered very low, you could double the amount of real estate that you own and increase the rate of return on each of those properties. But there's a reason you didn't. And I'd love it if you'd share why.
Well, first of all, my primary residence, I wanted the peace of mind of, I was stockpiling cash. I'm like, what should I do with it? I got rid of all my debt. I got rid of my credit cards. I got rid of every other kind of debt. I'm like, well, now what do I do? So, and I wasn't in an investing mindset mode. So, well, I'll just pay off my mortgage. And I did that. Yeah. And then I said, well, now I'm in a point where I can buy another home. And it really just kind of came about organically. My brother-in-law is the real estate agent. He's showing me a few homes. We find this perfect home. We kind of take this bigger idea because we can afford to do that. And it's a $600,000 home. So we're moving out of a $300,000 home into a $600,000, $700,000 home. And my brother-in-law says, well, I'll have the mortgage guy call you. The solar thing was doing so well. I look at my wife and I go, do we need a mortgage guy? And she says, no, I think we can just write a check. At which point my brother-in-law says, what are you talking about? And he says, well, I tell you what, we better hustle up and get the house in Gilbert sold so you can move the equity over then to buy this house. I go, nah, we're just going to rent that property out. And by the way, I paid that mortgage off already. And so, my primary investing strategy is to make a lot of money so that I can make decisions about that. Now, do I wish I had somebody like you giving me counsel where you would have said, well, and then I made several other purchases like that. I bought a cabin and, that was $250,000, wrote a check. If I had taken that, $1.5 million, $2 million and leveraged it out, would I have done better in 2019, 20? And I would have. But there's sort of a peace of mind that goes along with that. And I am leveraged in some of my other real estate ventures. And I too really like the multifamily. I've really transitioned away from single family. I'm almost exclusively multifamily and large apartment complexes. And I'm in a group with, 30 other guys that are taking down apartment complexes using leverage to get the majority of that capital to do that, or taking over, loans that are already in place to do that, and then experiencing. And I honestly, the reason I did that initially was to get some shelter from all the taxes that I'm paying now on this original income, getting depreciation moved over into my 1040.
Well, it's a really important thing to be able to understand the whole tax benefit piece, because when you can be active in the space, there's huge depreciation that can come off of that. But I just want to underline what you said. There's a benefit to owning properties free and clear, because then there's no question about the underlying debt that's there. Now, the benefit is that's the simple.
Clear. So if I got a house and it's $2,500 a month, that's $30,000 coming to. I'm like, what do I do with this money?
Totally. I mean, that's like the simplest version. And that's where people, I think, if you're looking for comfort and you're looking for low risk and you're looking to be in that position where you don't complicate things, that's a great place to be. Yep. And then there's an evolution to that where you start understanding how to use good debt. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing, where you use debt as a powerful tool for increasing the rate of return, but you only use enough so that you feel like you're comfortable. Because if you go in 90% or 100% debt and something goes wrong, all of a sudden now you're underwater versus being on the other side of it. So you're obviously in a position where you make a lot of money, you show people how to make a lot of money, you teach them how to do this sales thing, and then you're actually moving that money over to real estate to create tax shelter, and to really be able to park that cash in a nice secure position. What is it about real estate that makes you feel like it's a good, safe investment?
A good friend of mine, and he sort of leads this group. His name is Jeff Mendez, and he was a hero of mine in my space. He was, literally before I was the godfather of door-to-door and solar. He definitely held that title. And now he's retired with I'm guessing something. He's got a 9-figure net worth. So I'm literally trying to follow in the path of my mentors. But he told me something. He said, if you were to went into New York City and found any company in New York City in 1920 and invested $10,000 into any of those companies, there's almost a 100% chance that $10,000 would be worthless. There's almost no corporation you could have found that has now still here 100 years later and is viable, right? Almost 100% of those corporations are gone, unless you found, I don't know, was GM around then? I don't know, right? So, so there you're dealing with that. But if you were to pick any building in Manhattan, any single one of them, and bought that building with $10,000, you'd be worth tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars. And so if you step back from it and really look at it from that longer view, you're going to find that real estate always has that trajectory over the long haul. Why it's not going away. The real estate's not going bankrupt. The real estate's not going to be defunct. That real estate's going to be there 100 years from now. And probably, because the odds show, have done very, very well over, any long period of time like that.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it's all about. You find something, because there's a difference between growing your wealth and preserving your wealth. And you're in a position where you make a lot of money. You fit into that category where wealth preservation is as important, if not more important, than wealth growth. But interestingly enough, you can do both in real estate. You're not going to have Bitcoin type returns, which I don't really like anyways. But you're also not going to have Bitcoin like losses, right? Something doesn't go from being worth $1 million to being worth nothing, because you always have that underlying asset and you can actually insure it.
Well, and I've had people invest in companies that I was the entrepreneur of. And, there's a big difference between an investment and a bet. And I love the idea of understanding crypto and being involved in maybe some of the huge gains in a speculative investment. But you have to understand, a speculative investment is not an investment, it's a bet. And so I've also, having people like you in my life, they've taught me to diversify. And so, I can bet on crypto with maybe, 2% of my investment portfolio. I can bet and put private equity into this diamond mine, but only with, maybe 1 or 2% of my portfolio, right? I need to have a huge portion of my portfolio generating retirement income, and then an even bigger percentage generating equity and appreciation in real estate. So that doesn't mean you can't have fun and you can't speculate on what everybody's enjoying and talking about at cocktail parties, as long as you've diversified and are putting the appropriate amount of risk against what your long-term objectives are.
Thank you for listening to the Investor Mindset Podcast. If you like what you heard, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Head over to theinvestormindset.com to join the Insider Club, where we share tools and strategies from the top investors and entrepreneurs on how to take it to the next level.